2008, new polls showing increasing influence of the so-called non-candidate candidates, those big-name political figures who haven't declared they're running. Both Al Gore and Fred Thompson are now showing solid numbers in key states. Gore insists he has no plans to run. However, Thompson gave a strong hint of his intentions in New Hampshire.
I don't have any big announcements to make here tonight, but I'll just say this. I plan on seeing a whole lot more of you. How about that?
Okay, with me now, my faves. I've got the boys here, everyone. MSNBC political analyst Pat Buchanan and Democratic strategist Peter Fenn. Hi, guys.
Morning, Alex.
Well, let's start with this. Fred Thompson, listen to him right there, sounding for all the world like a candidate. What's he waiting for, Pat?
Well, one thing he's waiting for, I think he wants to let the Iowa straw poll go by. Secondly, the fact that he's a non-candidate has stood him in good stead. Nobody's attacking him. He gets great publicity, like even Bloomberg does. So he's in good shape, but he's going to have to decide pretty soon to get in this race. I think everybody anticipates he will. And, Alex, you know, Fred Thompson is one candidate who has a clean shot at uniting this party, possibly winning New Hampshire, and possibly winning the nomination.
Yeah, well, based on what you're saying right there, here's some stats to back that up, Peter. There's a batch of new polls that show Fred Thompson is now in second place in the key swing states of Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. So how much fear do you think he's putting into other GOP candidates, and how much fear is he putting into Democratic candidates?
Well, I think there's a lot of fear out there. You've got a situation here, Alex, where the non-candidates seem to be doing better than the candidates. And in the case of Al Gore, I think absence makes the heart grow fonder here. But I do think Fred Thompson has the ability to bring in a lot of conservatives who are disillusioned with the top-tier candidates right now. And as Pat says, that makes a big difference. I do hear from a lot of folks, though, that once he becomes a candidate, once the bright lights are turned up and he's not reading scripted lines on Law and Order, that he may disappoint a lot of people as a candidate. But, you know, you never know till folks get in these kinds of things. And right now, he's the hot property.
Expectations are awful high for Fred Thompson when you start saying the fella's the second Reagan, Alex.
Oh, that's huge. I hadn't heard that yet. Hey, you know, I'm curious with both of you. I want to ask the question, who do you think is the most attractive, in your case, Pat, GOP, in your case, Peter, Democratic candidate, to win a national election? I'm saying not the primaries. Of course, you got to get through the primaries to get to that position. But who do you think is the most attractive GOP?
I would say on the GOP, I would say Romney and Thompson, and I would give the edge to Thompson because he's a more consistent conservative. And I think Romney, there's the X factor, the fact he's a Mormon. And secondly, he has moved his position on a lot of things. But I think either of those two, even though the Republican Party is really down in the dumps and the country would like to get rid of all Republicans, I think either of those two in a close election could win the presidency of the United States.
Okay, of course, it's big as if. It's whether or not they get out of the primaries to be in that position. How about you, Peter? Who do you think on a national perspective?
I'll tell you, your question is so interesting, Alex, because this year, winnability, which we always used to talk about as being a non-factor in primaries, every time you got into the question of who's the candidate that can win, everybody thought, oh, no, we're going to go with issues. We're going to go with what people really believe. But this one, winnability is key. And I'll tell you, I think right now, if folks want real change, they look towards Obama. I mean, he's the change agent candidate right now. Again, can he sustain all the way to a general election? There's some, you know, queasiness, I guess is the word I'm looking for that. But, you know, Hillary is, of course, you know, a pro. She's been through this. She's got a group of terrific professionals. No one questions her experience. But again, can she get her negatives down? And then the long shot candidates. I mean, will you see an Edwards come through this? Will you see somebody like Bill Richardson come out of this thing? You know, it's really tricky. I have to tell you, I don't have a hard and fast answer to the question.
Okay, I want to get back to the non-candidate candidates, and with regard to Democrats, Pat, we have the new poll New Hampshire shows, of course, Hillary Clinton. I mean, she's leading among the Democrats, unless Al Gore enters the race. If he does, more than a quarter of her voters switch to Gore, and he wins the state. I mean, is this a New Hampshire thing, or is it indicative of how Democratic voters in general feel about Al Gore?
It's a Hillary thing. Look, the Hillary thing is this. There are a tremendous number of people that just do not want Hillary, do not like her. Nationally, it is 50% or more. In the Democratic Party, I think the non-Hillary, anti-Hillary group is probably a majority. Now, this is what gives Obama his real shot. If, you know, Dodd and Biden and Edwards and they all start dropping out, I think they go to him. Al Gore's problem is this. If he steps in, with due respect, it's the Southern white boy taking away the best chance a young, attractive African-American candidate has to be president of the United States. I think that will create a backlash in the Democratic Party against Gore, and I think it's one of the things probably holding him back. He can't step on Obama.
Okay, react from you, Peter, because we're going to go.
I think basically the Gore situation is just all about Gore. I mean, you know, if he gets in this race, he's going to be sure he's going to win and be sure he's going to just roll these other candidates. And I'm not sure it's quite there yet. But that poll in New Hampshire is big, and it's real important right now, I think.
Okay. Guys, up next, we're going to talk immigration. Pat's fave. Okay, so we'll be back in just a little bit with that. Thank you.
Hallelujah.